This is Peggy Richards Patty, and this podcast is called Through the Back Loop. It's a knitting podcast and with a little sewing thrown in occasionally. And I haven't been here for a long time. I've gotten a couple of comments from some viewers that, where are you? You're missing in action? And I kind of have been, just getting back to regular life. Beautiful, free life, non-pandemic life has been keeping me really busy. And so, I always apologize for my absence. Maybe I shouldn't, but it's been busy and wonderful and fun. Got my second shot. It's been a while. It's been a couple months now. And I've been to the eye doctor, hence the new glasses. I got my hair done. I got to go to lunch and coffee with friends, and I've been to 2 yarn stores in the past probably month. I've been to 2 yarn stores. I'm coming from Oceanside, California, where I live with my husband and my crazy beagle. And the 2 closest yarn stores, one is the one that I go to the most often is down in San Diego. So that's about 50 minutes away from me. And then there's another one in San Clemente, California, that's about 30 minutes away. So none real close anymore. All of them have closed. But I did get to go in and do some in-person shopping, and it was wonderful. So just a lot going on. My daughter bought a house up in LA. I'll talk more about that later. And so we've been really, really busy. But I know you're here for the making. This is where I document all my recent makes. And gosh, it's been so long that some of them aren't even that recent. But I do have lots of finished objects. And I'll start with one that I had talked about on a previous podcast. This has been made for a while. In fact, so long that I wouldn't even begin to think about putting this on right now because this is 100% wool. But this is the Solalu sweater by Jenna K. Colorwork sweater. It's slightly cropped. This is non-superwash wool. And I have blocked it, but it still has kind of a little bit of a sheepy smell to it. So I need to soak it again. But, I always say that every knitting project teaches you something. This one, what it taught me, and I heard somebody recently talking about it, but just I learned a lot about color work. Even though I've done color work before, several projects, I got in a little rhythm, and I don't know if you can see, of course you can see those lines there. That's because these lines, that's because my floats, I crossed them in the same place over and over again. So you need to kind of randomly, what do you call that? Catch your floats, I guess. So they're not all in a line like I did, because it makes it show through even more. And I found, that it was kind of too bad that my floats kind of show through with the darker yarn, but it would have looked a lot better if I would have kind of offset where I caught the floats, and they wouldn't have that line in it. But oh well, live and learn. And I think I will wear this a lot, like, since it is cropped, like over a dress or something. It's super comfortable. This is fingering weight yarn. It is the Rosa Pomar Pagula, and I knit it on needles 2, 3, and 4. Kind of the ribbing was on 2s and 3s, or I think the ribbing was on 2s, and then this was maybe 3, and this was on a 4. Anyway, it's been done for a while, and the weather has changed, although we do have May gray and June gloom here. It's still too warm to wear a wool sweater. So this won't get any more use until the fall and the winter. But anyway, all done and dusted, as they say. And that moves us on to another really thick, heavy sweater that I wouldn't even begin to think about wearing now. And this big old pink monster is called, it's a cabled bomber jacket. And it's called I Love Mr. Mittens Cable Bomber. It's a kit that was kind of an impulse buy. It's a kit from Wool and the Gang. And wow, it's supposed to be a beginner sweater and a kit for a beginner, and I had to like modify this thing like crazy. I knit it and it was ginormous. It was just melting off of me. And you use everything comes in the kit. And so they gave you these 15 millimeter needles. These are a size 17 US. And those were just too big. And they gave you the instructions. I had the little booklet here somewhere. I don't know what I've done with it now, but is this it? Yeah, here it is. So they give you this little booklet, and like I said, they said it was for a beginner. This came with the kit, and all I kept thinking about was if I was truly a beginner knitter, I wouldn't have known what to do to fix all the mistakes or fix all of the gauge issues. Like it was so big, it was ridiculous. So I knit almost the whole body. I hadn't done the sleeves yet, and I tried it on, and it was just, it was a joke. The gauge was way off. So luckily I had, needles, and I just tore all that out, and I came down. I was supposed to start, they had a 15 and a 19 that came with the kit, and I ended up coming way down. I did my ribbing on a size 10, and then I used a 15 and a 17 throughout the sweater. I'm finally happy with it, but my heart just kept going out to people that were really beginners and trying to use this kit, because it would have been so hard to know what to do. And even with the smaller needles, like these cables on the sleeve, I did let's see how many I have. 1, 2, 3 cables on the sleeve, and the pattern tells you to have 5. And so even with smaller needles, if I wouldn't have been, trust myself enough to change that, the sleeves would have just been falling off of me. But it is knit with Crazy Sexy Wool, which is, is this called extra bulky? I'm not even sure what. Oh, it's chunky, I guess. They consider it chunky yarn. And I'll put a picture up, and I'll try to put it on. I haven't put it on for a while, but I will only leave it on for a second because it's 100% wool. It doesn't look great with this shirt, obviously, but I think I will wear it occasionally, kind of just like as a statement piece, because it's pretty crazy. But it's fun. And it, as you can see, like on the shoulders, it's so heavy. That's one reason I think I won't wear it as much. It's just the weight of it, and it just even with the smaller gauge, it's just heavy yarn. So, I tried to give it to my daughter, and she loved the style of it, but she said that she didn't think that she would wear the pink. And I think I'll wear it once in a great while, but, it was just one of those kits that caught your eye, and then later on you're like, oh, why did I do that? And, in our climate, in the middle of the winter, I wear a lot of wool, so it'll be fine. But I just don't know how much wear it'll really get. But anyway, it is done. It's a finished object. And then that moves us on to something that I just finished that I love. And this is called the Leiden. And I will put a picture up as well. But it is a pattern from Pom Pom magazine. I hope I can hold on to it so you can see it a little better. I'll put pictures up because that's just not really doing it justice. But it's from Pom Pom magazine from a couple of summers ago. And I did this with my friend and neighbor, Angela, I guess it's our new tradition because we've done it 2 years in a row, and where we do a knit along together. And I'll put pictures of hers up as well. I chose kind of this blush pink, and then it looks kind of blackish. But let me look in my little notes here. It's actually, let me see, where is it? I have my handy little knitting book that I keep my notes in. Oh, it is considered a black. Okay, I was thinking that it was called something else. But anyway, this yarn is called, I think they call it Linny, and it's Sanus Garn. And it is cotton and now I'm not going to remember because I think I didn't write that down. It's mostly cotton. I think there's a tiny bit of linen in it. But it was a crazy pattern because I had to scour Ravelry to get ideas from people on how to knit this. You start with that panel in the front, and it's modular knitting. And from reading the instructions, I mean, it's the person that designed it, her name is Natalie Sellis, and it's modular. So you end up knitting these little V's right here, and you connect them together, and then you pick up and you knit across and do these decreases. So you do this whole panel, and then you end up picking up stitches here and knitting sideways, can you tell how the stitches are? And you just do all this unusual construction. So it always amazes me that anybody's mind works that way. It does have a 3-needle bind off around the sleeves and the neckline. And I made a pair of linen pants, a pair of black linen pants to go with it. Love it. I wore it for the first time the other day. It's super comfortable, just between, the cotton and the linen in the sweater and then the linen pants. It was just really, really comfortable and really fun. I mean, it does keep you engaged, but, the whole time you're just like, how is this going to work? Because you're not sure until you just take it one step at a time, and it does work. The other thing I can say about this was that it was a really fast knit. I knit this in 2 weeks. And it was on size 4 needles. But, I love knitting with Angela because she always picks really unique things like this, something that I would never pick myself. So anyway, it's done and I love it. And I will put up pictures of that. So those are the finished objects that I have, but I have some works in progress happening. And the first one is a very simple, relaxing vanilla sock. I'm doing it magic loop, and I finally figured out that I like to do my socks on 60 inches. I used to do 64, and then it was always a little too big. Not when I would initially put them on, but after I just wore them even a little while, I would always think that the sock was a little too loose, and I like my socks really tight. So this is 60 inches on a size 1, and this is the Arna and Carlos yarn. The ball band's not on it, so I'm not sure the name of it, but it's just their, commercial yarn, and which I've used in the past, self-striping, really relaxing, really fun. I just kind of cast it on, and a lot of people say they're able to just knit a sock without looking at a pattern. I still kind of goofed up a little bit, so I had to go kind of check a sock pattern that I have I just got a little goofed up. I kind of went too far on the heel flap. I knitted a little too long, so I haven't knit enough socks that I can just do it from memory. I still have to look at patterns. But anyway, that's been relaxing. So simple. And then the other one that I've been working on, and it's kind of been on hold lately, but it's another pair of rainbow socks. I had made these once before, and so I'm kind of using the leftover yarn. This pattern is by Kay Litton. She's the Crazy Sock Lady. And I decided, because I was wanting tighter socks, I went down to a 0 on these. And it's just kind of a battle. Like, it's not as easy to knit with. So I did 64 stitches on a 0, size 0. And the fabric's pretty good. I just don't enjoy knitting on a 0. So it was kind of an experiment. So that's what made me say, okay, I'll go to only 60 stitches on a 1 rather than 64 stitches on a 0. So I do need to finish these up. These take a little more brain space because you just have to keep track of what row you're on, and it's a 4-stitch repeat. So I had been knitting some lace, which I'll show you here in a second, and I just ended up, for my social knitting, for my Zoom knitting group that I meet with every week, I just needed something that was mindless. So anyway, I will finish these, just not yet. So I will share with you the other piece that I'm working on. It's a shawl, and the name of it, let me look it up here. The designer is Louisa Harding, and this is called the Zeffin, and it doesn't look like much because, well, there's a couple things wrong. This lace is beautiful. It's cashmere. And I started off on a size 6, which was perfect. Then I ended up changing. I decided instead of wood needles that I needed something a little more slippery. And so I changed to metal needles. For whatever stupid reason, I went from a 6 that it was supposed to be on, and when I switched needles to the metal needles, I switched to a 4 and didn't realize it until I had gotten so far along. And this pattern, this section and this section are fine, but this leaf section I had to get used to. It was kind of hard to get used to. It's not really memorizable. Like, you end up like the purl row is not just a purl row. You do some other things too. So anyway, you'll see that I'm started this over again when I go to the sewing section. I made a linen dress. I'll share with you in a little bit. But I ended up starting this over because because of the lace, you really want it to be able to open up, and you want it to be, so it needs to be on a size 6 rather than a size 4. So I just am thinking of this as my practice, and you'll see in a minute the other one that I'm working on now. Okay, so I'm going to stop there just for a second, and I'm going to switch over to sewing. But before I do that, well, no, we'll stop here and I'll switch over to sewing. I'll be right back. Hi, it was way more than a minute. It's the next day. You may be asking, is this the same person? Because now I have my hair pulled back and I look completely different. But anyway, some things came up yesterday and I couldn't finish recording. But I'm moving on to the sewing section. I've been doing a lot of sewing this summer and have just been loving it. It's been so fun and rewarding. What I've made is really simple, and everything that I've made is made out of linen, which is like my favorite fabric to knit, or not to knit with, but to sew with. I like knitting with it too. But anyway, so I wanted to share with you, I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is called the Augustina top, and it is a free pattern from the fabricstore.com. And so I downloaded, I printed it off and taped all the pattern together. And I'll stand up in a second, but basically it's a boxy top with a round neck, cuff sleeves, and it is kind of sort of a little cropped. But I made the top. I love it. I've already worn it a bunch. And then I found another pattern to make these shorts. These shorts are from, the designer is Anna Allen, and the shorts are called the Pomona shorts. I'm trying to get back far enough that you can actually see without bothering Ollie. But they have front pockets. They have this 2-inch elastic at the waist, which makes it super comfortable. Sometimes I tuck this all the way in and sometimes I don't. But anyway, it's just, I've worn this a ton already. I even got spaghetti sauce on it the other day, and luckily it came out with my secret recipe for spot removal. If you want to know what it is, I'll let you know. But anyway, this has already become a really favorite for the favorite summer uniform. And like I said, the Augustina top is a free pattern. And then the Pomona shorts I did purchase, and they also were a PDF pattern, which I really don't like taping PDF patterns together, but sometimes it's just necessary. I mean, there's so many people that don't have anything, don't sell, paper copies. So anyway, I love the pants so much that I have made 2 others. What else can I tell you about this? It's all very loose fitting. I guess I'll go ahead and show you the other 2 that I made from the pattern. The first is the pants, the black linen pants that I made that went with the Leiden. And I've worn these a couple of times as well. This is it's made with kind of a medium weight linen. And I also got this from the fabric store. I don't know if you've ever purchased for them, but like I got the pattern, and then they just send you these enticing deals once they have your email address. I mean, like really great sales. So, linen is usually a very expensive fabric, and they just have, really reasonable prices to begin with. And then you get a discount as well from some of their sales. But anyway, these pants are full length. One tip that I will give you, and you probably already know this, and I think I've said this in the past, I love sewing with linen, but it's important to wash your fabric at least twice, because I've learned that lesson more than once, that, you wash it once and dry it, and you think, oh good, all the shrinkage has happened, but it always seems to shrink one more time. So wash it at least twice. But I love these pants. The ones that go, I've got a whole stack of stuff here, but the ones that go with the Leiden, and that's the comfortable outfit that I was talking about earlier. So fun to wear and easy and comfortable. And then, after the pandemic clothing we've been wearing, we can't wear anything uncomfortable. And then I just sewed these shorts as well. These are a little bit longer, And I didn't put any patch pockets on the front or anything. These are just plain. But this linen came from, I think they're called, gosh, what's that company? They're in Seattle, Style Makers, I think. They had kind of a remnant sale, and so I got these. And I want to sew a top to go with these, but so far I haven't done that. But it's got a a nice wide hem on it. You do top stitching. This is such a simple pattern. Like, you don't even have a seam. The only seam is the inner legs, and then of course, the front and the back, but there's no side seam. I mean, it's just very simple construction. But Anna does such a great job of giving the directions, and she has you do all the little extra details like an edge stitch and a top stitch, and just really super easy directions to follow. So anyway, yeah, two pairs of shorts and one pair of pants from one pattern. So I think that's getting your money's worth. I'm the kind of person that actually likes to make things more than once, because you have all the fitting issues figured out, and it goes so much quicker the second and third time. But anyway, it's going to be a linen summer, that's for sure. And then that brings me to my favorite sewing project that I've done this summer so far. If I can find a place to stack all this stuff. This was the first one that I did even before the Pomona pants. And this has an interesting story. This one has an interesting story. So first I'll talk about, I'll talk about the pattern first. This is the Everyday Dress by Peppermint Magazine, and it's also a free pattern. And this was the first sewing project that I kind of did this summer. And this is a very simple dress as well. It has, it's kind of knee length, it's oversized. Again, it was free pattern. It has a V-neck on one side and a kind of round neck on the other side, and they say that you can reverse it. So far when I've tried it on, I've always put the V in the front. It's boxy. Well, the sleeves are boxy, but I did modify them, and I will share the link with there's a woman on YouTube, and I'll have to look up her name, but she does a little video of how she modified the sleeves. And to me, that's what made it really interesting. If it was just the boxy sleeves and the dress itself is kind of boxy, I don't think it would have been, especially on someone as short as me, as interesting. So that was really a nice modification, and I'll include her video below. So if you want to check that out. It does have a split hem, which makes it nice when you're wearing it. And it does come with a belt. And I've seen photos of people using the belt and people not using the belt. And to me, the belt, again, gave it a lot more shape. And so I do wear it with the belt. But I wanted to talk about this fabric. This fabric was purchased it's either 4, maybe approaching 5 years ago. And my daughter and I had gone to the Crate and Barrel outlet store. And we were just kind of shopping around, and I had never seen fabric in Crate and Barrel before. And they just had this piece. There were a couple of other linen pieces, and it was only like $4 a yard. And I think I bought 3 yards, and I was really hesitant because I was like, well, I may never use that. And I was like, well, it's only $12, so even if I don't. But I thought, well, I don't know if I should. So I did buy it, and I've had it all this time. And one day it just popped in my head after I saw this pattern. I was like, oh, I should give that a try. And I ended up loving it. And I thought, well, even if I don't like it, it was only $12. But the interesting thing that I'm so excited about is my daughter's best friend is getting married this summer. She was supposed to get married last summer, but because of the pandemic, the wedding was canceled. And the wedding's going to be up in the wine country in Sonoma in Northern California. And I thought, well, I'll make this dress for that wedding. And I made the dress and I tried it on and I thought, oh, I really like it. I'm fine with it. I think this might be a contender for the wedding. And then my daughter came for a visit and I just thought, well, I'll let her have the final say. And she's quite the fashionista. So I thought for sure that she was going to go, oh, it's a great dress, but not for the wedding. And she goes, no, I really love it. And so I'm like so happy. So I'm wearing a dress to the wedding that I only paid $12 for. So anyway, yeah. So this is it. I don't have a picture yet of me in it, but maybe I'll share that on a future podcast because I've got some other things that I'm working on to go with it. So this is where the second shawl comes in. I showed you the first shawl, the Louisa Harding one. So, I had kind of told you how I goofed up the needle size and everything. And so I had started this first shawl, and this yarn was a kit that I had for a while too. And I was going to make a shawl to go with the dress. And then I ended up goofing up the needle size, as I've already discussed. And then I was like, yeah, it just kind of seems a little drab too, like a little too much gray. So I restarted it on a color that I thought was lighter and more interesting and a little brighter. And this is an alpaca silk lace weight yarn. It hasn't been blocked yet. It is on a size 6 needle. So I'll be able, once I block it, I'll be able to really open it up. And I just think the color is better with the dress. And the lace is going to be more opened up. I mean, if you go to that much work, you want it to be visible. And I think it'll be really pretty. Just a light, it's actually not really, it's more of a wrap more than a shawl. And so when I get everything all together, I will take a picture. And then, of course, because shoes are always one of the more important parts of any outfit, I do have some shoes. Let me make sure I do have it. Hold on, let me grab it. Let's see here. Oh. So these I got on sale as well. I think they work great. My daughter and she wasn't as sold on the shoes as I was, but I thought the color was great. And they're super comfortable, which is, I refuse to wear uncomfortable shoes. But I thought the gray was just it's kind of a taupey gray. And I thought it looked great with it. She was like a little unsure of the shoes. She goes, I'm not sure about the shoes, but I thought it looked great. Anyway, in a future podcast, I'll put the whole outfit together. But anyway, this was just one of those super rewarding, not only because I used the linen for my stash, but I just felt like the pattern worked well with such a simple dress, and I love the modifications of the sleeves. So that was super fun. And I think that kind of inspired me to do more sewing. So, because right after I finished this, I did this and those 2 pairs of Pomona pants. So, it's kind of one of those deals when you have self-gratification project then that inspires you to keep going. And I want to, I think this is going to be a summer of sewing. Summer is my favorite time to sew anyway, just because I love the fabrics of summer. So let's see where we are, kind of shifting back to knitting a little bit. I wanted to tell you about a super exciting thing that I'm going to do in the future. Actually, it's coming up quickly because it starts on June 16th, I am doing a brioche class from Bristol Ivy. It's called Brioche from the Roots Up. And Terry, one of my friends from my San Diego knitting group, is the one that kind of told me about it, and she's taking it as well. So, it'll be fun to do it with somebody. And what it is, it goes from June 16th all the way to September 16th. So basically, it's like a 3-month class. And with this, you get 6 patterns, and then you get the video tutorials to help you each week. So it starts with a really simple, like brioche and the round hat. I think that's the first one. Or maybe it's the cowl that's first, a cowl, and then I think it's a hat. And then you go to a more complicated project where there's the increases and the decreases on brioche. And that is the part of brioche that I always, I've taken a couple of classes on brioche, and I have knit a hat, and I have done 2-color brioche in the round. But I think it was through the San Diego Knitters Guild, I took a 2-hour class on brioche, and it was kind of like the increase and decrease part of it I needed a little more help with, and there were enough students in the class that other people were having issues with just getting the regular brioche down, and so I needed kind of more individualized help than I got. And so I've always been kind of stuck on that part of it, the increase and decrease. And I took another brioche class, I think it was through Vogue Knitting Live, just the virtual one. And it was a 2-hour class, and I thought that was going to be covered, and it wasn't. So I've always just kind of stopped short. That's where my learning always stopped. So I think Bristol Ivy is going to be a great teacher. I've heard that she is. And I think I'm going to make it over that increase and decrease hump. There are weekly Zoom meetings that go with this. So there's like 16 weekly. So it's a 4-month. That's 16 weeks is 4 months. Wow. And so those weekly meetings, I think you can get, if you get tangled up, that you can get those problems solved. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. I'll let you know how that goes. I want to stop here for just a second and give you a chance to come with me to the 2 yarn stores that I was able to recently visit. The first one is Apricot Yarn Supply Company. I believe that's their full name, down in San Diego. And that was the first one that Angela and I went to. And that is where I purchased the yarn for the Leiden. I got the pink and the black cotton yarn at Apricot. And that was so exciting because it was like my first coffee that I had out, and first yarn store. We went out to lunch. So I'm going to let you go with me. I took a little footage. They gave me permission. And then the second yarn store is in San Clemente, much smaller little shop. And it's called, I think if I've got my memory serves me, it's called Strands, I'm pretty sure. So let's stop here and I'll take you with me, and we'll go on a little virtual shopping little tour. Be right back.
got high hopes. Do you want the same? Cause baby, all I got is high hopes. Do you feel the same? Do you want me, babe? Or is it just a game? Cause I got high hopes.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed vicariously shopping for yarn and just being in the presence of all the colors and all the textures and all the possibilities and all the inspiration that every single little brick and mortar store give us. And as time goes on, and there's so many of them that that are closing, and they're becoming fewer and far between. It makes us appreciate them and even more. It was both days were really, really fun. And I'm so glad that Angela and I were able to experience that together. Just towards the end here, I'll just tell you a little bit about life in general, and I'll share some photos and a little more footage of just life in general. As I mentioned earlier, my daughter and her partner purchased a house in LA, which is purchasing a house anywhere in the United States right now is nothing short of a miracle in a way. Just quite crazy. The first one that they tried to, well, they did put an offer on it, but there were 27 other offers. And I don't know how many of those offers were cash offers. And, they've worked really hard and saved money for a down payment. And she was just really worried that maybe they would never be able to buy a house in LA. But, their second attempt went way different, and they pulled it off, and we're thrilled for them. Anytime you buy a house, I guess it's like a big giant leap of faith. After they've been there just for a few short weeks. We went up for the inspection because my husband, was able to help, give all of his house knowledge to them and be some support. And then we've been up one time since they actually have moved into the house. And like any house, there's a lot they want to do to improve it, and also, to make it their own. And, it's a daunting task, but I know they're up for it. And so we've been just thrilled for them. And I will include a picture of their new house. My son also lives in LA, and he's been able to, help them along the way. And during all this time, we sat out on his patio, and it was just so great to be around my kids without wearing a mask. And so I hope after the end of all this pandemic stuff that we don't just go, oh yeah, that happened, and just go on with life, although we do want to go on with life in general and the way it was before. But also I want to hold on to this feeling of gratitude of, how much we appreciate life when there's not a pandemic going on. And I'm so incredibly grateful to live in a country that got the vaccine relatively quickly and easily. We do have lots of problems as a country, like the fact that, almost a third of the people are not getting vaccinated. Just blows my mind when we so easily can get vaccinated. But anyway, that's another story. I don't want to necessarily get into all of that, but I am thrilled that we were able to get it and that we've been able to venture out to restaurants. And, I still haven't gotten to see my mom yet, and I want to so bad, but we're planning. We will get to this summer. We're just trying to figure out the details. But just being around my kids without worrying about social distancing and being able to see their full expressions and everything has just been great. So I'm going to end here. I'll include some footage of life in general, including a little video of my yard. This was earlier in the spring, so please disregard. There's some weeds and stuff that I hadn't picked yet. And now there's whole new ones have cropped up since I have been out there. But it was kind of more earlier spring, and then, I don't know, just pictures of life in general around here. And I hope you enjoy those as well. And I hope that life is treating you well and that you are enjoying all you're making and life in general. And I wish you the very best. And until next time, take good care. Bye-bye.